Climate change, global, elite, will need to slash high-carbon lifestyles.
Here's a summary of the article.
The world's wealthiest 1% account for more than twice the combined carbon emissions of the poorest 50%, according to the UN. Their emissions gap report finds that the richest will need to rapidly cut their CO2 footprints to avoid dangerous warming this century. Green recovery could limit the rise in temperatures to 2°C. The study, compiled by the UN Environment Programme, underlines the chasm between the level of emissions consistent with keeping temperatures down and what's happening in the real world. The combined emissions of the richest 1% of the global population account for more than twice the combined emissions of the poorest 50%. The UNEP report shows that the overconsumption of a wealthy minority is fueling the climate crisis, yet it is poor communities and young people who are paying the price, said Tim Gore, head of climate policy at Oxfam, and a contributing author to the report. If countries invest in climate action, this could reduce expected emissions in 2030 by around 25%, enough to give the world a 66% chance of holding temperatures below 2°C. The year 2020 is on course to be one of the warmest on record, while wildfires, storms and droughts continue to wreak havoc, said Inger Anderson. However, UNEP's emissions gap report shows that a green pandemic recovery can take a huge slice out of greenhouse gas emissions and help slow climate change. I urge governments to back a green recovery in the next stage of COVID-19 fiscal interventions and raise significantly their climate ambitions in 2021. The UNEP report says that so far, action by governments on a green recovery has been limited, but a growing number of countries are committing to net zero emissions targets by the middle of the century.
This post received a score of 3,500, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Barbra Streisand has a mall in the basement of her Malibu home. These people would sooner hire small militias to protect their high-carbon lifestyle than actually live like the rest of us. Edit, the location of said home.
INB for Elysium.
Fucker Musk is already looking to leave this world behind, literally.
I mean, me too. I'm just not rich.
You can always try joining his private army when he gets one.
Lol, I mean maybe. Space Marines sound fun until you have to go to a planet with a chick named Ripley or an android named David.
Move to Mars, they said. Get a pet bunny, they said. It'll be nice and quiet.
No, it's okay for them to fly in private jets and cool their huge mansions and heat their swimming pools as long as they make poor people plant trees for them.
Is this the same global elite that was paying billions to discredit climate change science? We might as well admit we're doomed then.
From the September 2020 Oxfam report, the richest 10% of the global population, comprising about 630 million people, were responsible for about 52% of global emissions over the 25-year period, the study showed. Globally, the richest 10% are those with incomes above about $35,000 £27,000 a year, and the richest 1% are people earning more than about $100,000. How much is required to be in the global 1%, and global 10%? Currency, global richest 1%, global richest 10%, USD, $100,000, $35,000 pound, 77.3 thousand liras, 27,000 liras euros, 85,000 euros, 29.8 thousand euros CAD, $133,000, $46.
This is quite literally eye-opening. Thank you for teaching me this.
Fat chance of that happening.
I've read too many near-future dystopian novels to believe this will ever happen. They'll take their high-carbon lifestyles to an off-world resort on Mars or the Moon or low Earth orbit. I mean, people think Elon Musk is into environmentalism because he makes electric cars, but if that dude's not a sci-fi, cyberpunk supervillain, I dunno who is. Either that, or he's the next L. Ron Hubbard cult leader.
They won't, we will all die. Case closed.
Narrator voice, they didn't.
How is this story being covered by sources with different biases? Coverage Analysis Bot.
Hi Brassbeater. We found 43 sources that are covering this story, including Arab News, World set for 3°C warming despite pandemic, pledges, UN, Reuters. Emissions hit new record, put world on track for 3°C warming, Rapala. World set for 3°C warming despite pandemic, pledges, UN. Of all the sources reporting on this story, 53% are left-leaning, 23% are right-leaning, and 23% are in the center. Read the full, and compare how 43 sources from across the political spectrum are covering this story. Read here to learn how it works, or message us with any feedback so we can improve the bot for you.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.